Lieutenant Colonel Anna Reyes stood at the observation deck of Orbital Station Prometheus, watching the pale blue marble of Earth turn slowly beneath her. The year was 2235, and humanity had finally reached the stars, though not quite in the way the old dreamers had imagined. They had built magnificent orbital cities, mining platforms that stretched across the asteroid belt, and research stations that pushed the boundaries of known space. Yet, for all their achievements, humanity remained stubbornly provincial content to exploit the resources of their own solar system, while the vast galaxy beyond remained an untouchable mystery. Anna pressed her palm against the cool, transparisteel window, her reflection ghosting over the planet below. At 38, she commanded the 7th Orbital Reconnaissance Unit, a collection of fast-moving scout ships that patrolled the outer edges of human space. Her dark hair was pulled back in regulation style, and her uniform bore the insignia of the United Earth Defense Force. Despite her military bearing, there was something restless in her brown eyes, a hunger for something beyond the routine patrols and asteroid surveys that occupied most of her time. Still staring at the void, Colonel. The voice belonged to Captain Elena Kovac, Anna's second-in-command and leader of the Orbital Artillery Division. Elena was a decade older, her blonde hair streaked with premature silver from years of exposure to cosmic radiation. She moved with the practiced grace of someone who had spent most of her adult life in zero gravity. "Not the void," Anna replied without turning. "The possibilities. Sometimes I wonder what's out there beyond our little corner of space." Elena joined her at the window, following her gaze toward the distant stars. "Careful with that kind of thinking, Anna. Command doesn't like dreamers. They prefer pragmatists who focus on resource quotas and patrol schedules." Anna finally turned from the window, a wry smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Maybe that's exactly the problem. Maybe we've become too comfortable being small." Their conversation was interrupted by the sharp chime of Anna's communication device. The holographic display materialized in front of her, showing the stern face of Admiral Harrison, commander of Earth's orbital defenses. His expression was grim, the kind of look that preceded very bad news. "Colonel Reyes, report to Briefing Room 7 immediately. Priority Alpha authorization." Anna straightened. Priority Alpha meant potential existential threat to human civilization. In her 15 years of service, she had never received such a designation. "Understood, Admiral. On my way." The briefing room was already crowded when Anna arrived. She recognized most of the faces: senior military commanders, representatives from the various Earth governments, and several civilian scientists. At the head of the table sat Admiral Harrison, his weathered face illuminated by the glow of multiple holographic displays. "Now that we're all here," Harrison began without preamble, "I'll get straight to the point. 6 hours ago, our Deep Space Monitoring Station at Deimos detected massive energy discharges near the orbit of Mars. Initial analysis suggested solar storm activity, but subsequent investigation has revealed something far more disturbing." The main display shifted to show a tactical readout of the outer solar system. Red markers indicated the positions of several Earth scout ships that had been conducting routine patrols beyond Mars. Anna felt her stomach drop as she realized what she was looking at. "The entire 15th Scout Squadron has been destroyed," Harrison continued. 17 ships and over 300 personnel. But here's what makes this truly alarming. The energy signatures don't match any known weapon or natural phenomenon in our database. The destruction was precise, coordinated, and executed with technology far beyond our current capabilities. Dr. Marcus Lee, the chief researcher from the Advanced Technology Division, leaned forward in his chair. Marcus was a thin man in his early 40s, with sharp features and intense dark eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Despite his civilian status, he had security clearance that rivaled most military commanders. "Admiral, are you suggesting we're dealing with non-human intelligence?" Harrison's expression remained neutral. "I'm suggesting we're dealing with technology that didn't originate on Earth or from any human colony. Whether that technology is currently controlled by non-human intelligence remains to be determined. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. For over 2 centuries, humanity had scanned the stars for signs of intelligent life. The discovery that they were not alone in the universe should have been cause for celebration. Instead, the first contact had come in the form of violence and destruction. Anna found her voice. "What are our orders, sir?" "As of this moment, Earth Defense Force is moving to Condition Red. All military personnel are restricted to essential duties only. Colonel Reyes, your reconnaissance unit will be reassigned to close orbital patrol. I want every approach vector to Earth monitored around the clock." "With respect, Admiral," Anna said carefully, "wouldn't it make more sense to investigate the source of these attacks? My scouts are fast and maneuverable. We could—" "Absolutely not," Harrison cut her off. "Until we understand what we're dealing with, no human vessels are to venture beyond the orbit of Luna. That's final." As the briefing concluded and personnel began to file out, Dr. Lee approached Anna. "Colonel, might I have a word?" Anna nodded, and they stepped into a quiet corner of the room. Marcus glanced around to ensure they weren't being overheard before speaking. "I need your help," he said quietly. "There's something the Admiral didn't mention in the briefing. Our sensors detected debris from the destroyed ships, but also fragments that don't match human technology. I need to get out there and collect samples." "You heard the Admiral," Anna replied. "No missions beyond Luna." "This could be our only chance to understand their technology," Marcus pressed. "If we're going to have any hope of defending ourselves, we need to know what we're up against." Anna studied the scientist's earnest face. She had worked with Marcus on several projects over the years and had come to respect his judgment. More importantly, she recognized the same restless hunger in his eyes that she felt when staring out at the stars. "What exactly are you proposing?" "A quick reconnaissance mission to the debris field. In and out minimal risk. Your ships are the fastest in the fleet. We could be back before anyone realizes we're gone." Anna was quiet for a long moment, weighing the risks against the potential benefits. Finally, she nodded. "I'll need a few hours to plan the mission. Can you be ready to launch at 0300? "I'll be ready." The next morning, Anna found herself piloting her personal scout ship, the Defiant, through the void between Mars and Jupiter. Marcus sat in the co-pilot seat, his equipment spread across every available surface, as he monitored for signs of alien technology. Behind them, in the cargo bay, lay the fruits of their unauthorized mission, several fragments of what appeared to be advanced alloy materials, unlike anything in Earth's technological database. "The molecular structure is completely alien," Marcus said, his voice filled with excitement and apprehension. "The binding forces holding these atoms together don't follow any physics we understand. If we could figure out how to replicate this, we could revolutionize human technology," Anna finished, "or blow ourselves up trying." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent beeping from the ship's communication array. Anna accepted the incoming transmission, and Admiral Harrison's angry face filled the display. "Colonel Reyes, you are in direct violation of explicit orders. Return to base immediately." "Admiral, we've made a significant discovery. Dr. Lee has recovered samples of alien technology that could—" "I don't care if you've found the secret to immortality," Harrison snapped. "Get back here now, or I'll have you court-martialed." Anna was about to respond when Marcus suddenly grabbed her arm. "Anna, look at this." The scientist was staring at his sensor displays with wide eyes. The screens showed massive energy signatures approaching from the direction of Jupiter, moving at velocities that should have been impossible for objects of their apparent size. "How many ships?" Anna asked, her training taking over. "I count 12 distinct signatures. But Anna, these aren't ships. These are mobile battle stations. Each one is roughly the size of Manhattan." Anna felt her blood turn to ice. "Admiral, are you seeing this?" Harrison's expression had shifted from anger to grim determination. "We see them, Colonel. All Earth Defense Forces are moving to full alert status. Get back here now. We're going to need every ship we can get." The journey back to Earth passed in tense silence, with both Anna and Marcus watching their sensors for any sign that the approaching alien fleet had detected their small scout ship. As they neared Earth's orbital defense grid, the full scope of humanity's preparations became clear. Every available military vessel had been deployed in a defensive perimeter around the planet, while civilian traffic had been diverted to the far side of Luna. As the Defiant docked with orbital station Prometheus, Anna could see the approaching alien fleet with her naked eye. The 12 massive vessels moved in perfect formation, their dark hulls seeming to absorb the light of the distant sun. They were unlike anything in human design philosophy. Organic curves blended with geometric precision, creating shapes that seemed to shift and flow, even as they maintained their course. The first attack came without warning. Beams of coherent energy lanced out from the alien vessels, each one precisely targeted at Earth's orbital defense platforms. Anna watched in horror as the heavy battleship Constitution simply vanished in a flash of brilliant light, taking her crew of 800 with her. "All units engage the enemy," Harrison's voice crackled over the communication network. "Protect the evacuation ships at all costs." Anna raced to her command center, where the surviving members of her reconnaissance unit were already preparing for launch. Elena was there as well, coordinating the deployment of the orbital artillery batteries. "Status report," Anna called out as she strapped herself into her command chair. "We've lost 6 major platforms in the first wave," Elena reported. "The alien weapons appear to be some form of directed energy that completely bypasses our defensive shields. Our return fire is having minimal effect on their hulls." "What about civilian evacuation?" "In progress, but it's going slowly. We simply don't have enough transport capacity to evacuate Earth's entire population. Priority is being given to essential personnel and children." Anna felt a surge of anger at the cold calculus of survival. She had joined the Defense Force to protect people, not to choose which ones deserved to live. "What about the colony ships?" "Being prepared for launch, but they'll need at least 6 hours to be ready for deep space travel." "We don't have 6 hours," Anna said grimly. "Look at this." The tactical display showed the alien fleet beginning to split into smaller groups, with several vessels moving to attack Earth's surface directly. The first strikes hit Madrid and Beijing simultaneously, both cities disappearing in pillars of fire that could be seen from orbit. The death toll was already climbing past 10 million, and the attack had barely begun. "We need to buy time," Anna said. "Elena, how many artillery platforms do we have left?" 14, but they're scattered across 3 different orbital zones. "Coordinate with me. We're going to hit them with everything we have." What followed was the most desperate battle in human history. Anna led her scouts in hit-and-run attacks against the alien fleet, using their superior speed and maneuverability to strike at what they hoped were vulnerable points. Elena's artillery platforms provided covering fire, their massive railguns hurling projectiles at a significant fraction of the speed of light. For a brief moment, it seemed like human ingenuity might prevail. Several alien vessels showed signs of damage, their perfect formations beginning to waver. But the reprieve was short-lived. The aliens adapted to human tactics with frightening speed, and soon the orbital defenses were being systematically dismantled. It was Marcus who came up with the desperate plan that would save what remained of humanity. Working frantically in his laboratory aboard Prometheus Station, he had been analyzing the alien technology fragments they had recovered. What he discovered changed everything. "Anna, you need to hear this," Marcus called over the communication channel. "The alien technology isn't just advanced, it's biologically integrated. These ships are controlled through some form of neural interface that directly connects the pilot's consciousness to the vessel's systems." "That's fascinating, Marcus, but how does it help us?" "Because I think I've figured out how to create our own version. The fragments contain what appears to be a biological computing matrix. If I can interface it with human neural patterns—" "You're talking about human experimentation in the middle of a battle," Anna said. "Even if it worked, we don't have time to test it properly." "We don't have time for anything properly," Marcus replied. "But this might be our only chance. The alien technology responds to conscious will rather than traditional control systems. If a human pilot could interface directly with their own ship. Anna was quiet for a moment, considering the implications. Around her, the battle continued to rage with human forces falling back toward Earth as their positions became untenable. Finally, she made her decision. Do it, but I'm the test subject. Anna, the risks are my responsibility. Just tell me what I need to do. 20 minutes later, Anna found herself in Marcus's laboratory with a neural interface crown fitted to her head. The device was a hybrid of human technology and the alien fragments, its organic components, pulsing with a faint blue light. Marcus's hands shook as he made the final connections. I need to warn you, he said. This technology operates on principles we don't fully understand. There's a chance that interfacing with it could fundamentally alter your consciousness. And if we don't try, we all die anyway, Anna replied. Initialize the connection. The moment the interface activated, Anna's world exploded into sensation. She could feel the defiant, not as a separate machine, but as an extension of her own body. Every system, every component, every sensor was as much a part of her as her own arms and legs. More than that, she could sense the other ships in the fleet, their systems becoming visible to her consciousness, like a vast network of interconnected minds. Anna, are you all right? Marcus's voice seemed to come from very far away. I'm different, she replied, her voice carrying an odd harmonic quality. But functional, and I have an idea. Anna's consciousness reached out through the neural interface, making contact with the other human ships in the fleet. To her amazement, she found that she could share the interface connection, allowing other pilots to experience the same enhanced control over their vessels. Within minutes, a dozen scout ships had been retrofitted with makeshift neural interfaces, creating a network of consciousness that operated as a single coordinated entity. The effect on the battle was immediate and dramatic. Human ships that had been operating as individual units suddenly moved with perfect coordination, anticipating each other's actions and responding to threats with inhuman precision. What the humans lacked in firepower, they made up for in their chaotic, unpredictable tactics that the aliens couldn't anticipate or counter. This is impossible. Elena's voice crackled over the communication channel. How are you doing this? Blah. Human chaos. Anna replied, her consciousness simultaneously piloting her scout ship while coordinating the actions of the entire squadron. It's not a weakness. It's our greatest strength. The tide of battle began to turn as the human fleet, now operating as a single organism, began to exploit weaknesses in the alien formations that individual ships could never have detected. Using their enhanced coordination, they managed to isolate and destroy several alien vessels, forcing the remainder to fall back to a safer distance. But the victory was temporary. Even with their newfound capabilities, the human fleet was vastly outnumbered and outgunned. The aliens regrouped and began a systematic bombardment of Earth's surface, targeting major population centers with devastating effect. The evacuation ships were making progress, but millions of people remained trapped on the dying planet. It was then that Marcus made his most crucial discovery. While monitoring the neural interface network, he detected something unexpected. The consciousness of every connected pilot was beginning to merge into a collective entity that transcended individual minds. The merger wasn't destroying their individuality, but rather creating something greater than the sum of its parts. Anna, I think we can use this, Marcus said urgently. The collective consciousness you've created, it's generating a psychic field that's interfering with the alien neural interfaces. If we could amplify it. You're talking about a psionic weapon, Anna replied, her voice now speaking for the entire connected fleet. The risks of not trying are greater, Marcus interrupted. I can route the collective consciousness through the station's main power grid. It would create a massive psionic pulse that could disrupt every alien ship in the system. Anna considered the proposal through the expanded awareness of the collective consciousness. She could feel the minds of her fellow pilots, their thoughts and emotions flowing together like streams merging into a river. They were afraid, but also determined. They had seen their world burning beneath them, had watched billions of their fellow humans die in the alien bombardment. If there was a chance to stop the slaughter, they would take it. "Do it," Anna said, speaking for all of them. Marcus worked frantically to modify the station's power systems, routing the collective consciousness through conduits that had never been designed for such a purpose. Warning lights flashed throughout Prometheus Station as power levels exceeded all safety parameters. In the neural interface network, Anna could feel the consciousness of her fellow pilots burning brighter and brighter, their individual minds becoming part of something vast and terrible and beautiful. The psionic pulse, when it came, was visible across the entire solar system. A wave of blue energy expanded outward from Earth's orbital zone, washing over the alien fleet like a tide of conscious will. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. Alien ships that had been moving in perfect formation suddenly began to drift aimlessly, their neural control systems disrupted by the psychic interference. But the victory came at a cost. The effort of generating the psionic pulse burned out most of the neural interfaces, leaving the pilots unconscious or worse. Anna herself felt her consciousness fragmenting as the collective dissolved, leaving her alone in her own mind for the first time in hours. Status report," she managed to whisper, as the emergency systems brought her back to consciousness. "The alien fleet is in full retreat," Elena reported, her voice filled with exhaustion and amazement. "They're heading back toward Jupiter at maximum speed. It looks like they want nothing more to do with us." Anna struggled to her feet, her body weak from the neural interface ordeal. Through the observation windows, she could see the alien ships withdrawing their dark hulls, disappearing into the void between worlds. On the screens around her, damage reports from Earth painted a grim picture. Major cities destroyed, hundreds of millions dead, entire ecosystems devastated by the bombardment. But humanity had survived. More than that, they had proven themselves capable of fighting back against a technologically superior enemy. The evacuation ships continued their work, ferrying survivors to the hastily constructed refugee stations in the asteroid belt. Plans were already being made for reconstruction, for the creation of new colonies that would spread human civilization across the stars. Dr. Marcus Lee approached Anna as she stood watching the retreating alien fleet. The scientist looked haggard, his equipment scattered around him like the remnants of a storm. But there was excitement in his eyes, the look of someone who had glimpsed the future and found it full of possibilities. "The neural interface technology," he said quietly. "It's changed everything. The collective consciousness we created. It's not just a weapon. It's a new form of human existence, a way for our species to transcend individual limitations." Anna nodded slowly. She could still feel the echo of the collective in her mind. The memory of consciousness expanded beyond the boundaries of a single body. It was frightening and exhilarating in equal measure. "What do we do now?" she asked. "We rebuild," Marcus replied. "But not as we were before. The aliens will be back eventually, and when they come, they'll find a humanity that's no longer primitive. We'll be ready for them." In the months that followed, humanity began its transformation from a single-world species to a true interstellar civilization. The neural interface technology was refined and expanded, allowing for levels of coordination and cooperation that had never been possible before. New colonies were established throughout the solar system, each one designed to be self-sufficient and defensible. The space station New Gaia became the center of this new civilization, a massive structure that served as both military headquarters and civilian government center. Anna found herself promoted to general, commanding the reformed Earth Defense Force that now operated throughout human space. Marcus became the director of the Advanced Technology Division, leading research into the alien fragments and developing new applications for neural interface technology. Most importantly, humanity had learned the value of unity in the face of external threats. The old divisions between nations and ideologies seemed petty in comparison to the challenge of survival among the stars. A new government was formed, the Terran Confederation, with representatives from every human colony and outpost. 5 years after the alien attack, Anna stood once again at an observation deck, this time aboard New Gaia Station. The view before her was dramatically different from that day aboard Prometheus. Instead of a single blue world, she could see the lights of dozens of human colonies scattered across the solar system. Ships moved constantly between them, carrying people and resources and ideas that would have been unimaginable during humanity's primitive past. "Remarkable, isn't it?" The voice belonged to Marcus, now bearing the title of Chief Scientific Advisor to the Confederation Council. He looked older, his hair now completely gray, but his eyes still held that familiar spark of curiosity and ambition. "Sometimes I wonder if we would have ever reached this point without the war," Anna replied. "It took an external threat to make us realize what we were capable of." "Perhaps that's the way it's always been," Marcus mused. "Crisis as a catalyst for evolution. The aliens may have destroyed our world, but they also forced us to become something greater than we ever imagined." Their conversation was interrupted by an aide who approached with a message tablet. Anna read it quickly, her expression shifting to one of intense interest. "What is it?" Marcus asked. "Long-range sensors have detected alien transmissions from the direction of Alpha Centauri," Anna replied. "Not the same species that attacked us. This appears to be a diplomatic contact." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "They want to talk?" "It seems so. The message is a mathematical sequence that clearly indicates intelligence, followed by what our linguists believe are coordinates for a meeting point." "And our response?" Anna smiled the expression, carrying both determination and anticipation. "We're going to accept their invitation. It's time for humanity to take its place on the galactic stage." The meeting took place 3 months later, at a neutral location in deep space beyond the orbit of Pluto. The human delegation traveled aboard the newest class of starship vessels that incorporated both human engineering and adapted alien technology. Anna commanded the expedition, with Marcus serving as chief science officer and Elena leading the military escort. The alien delegation arrived in ships that were clearly different from those that had attacked Earth years earlier. These vessels were elegant and streamlined, their hulls decorated with intricate patterns that seemed to shift and change in the starlight. When the first alien representatives came aboard the human flagship, Anna was struck by their obvious intelligence and dignity. The lead alien was tall and graceful, with pale skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Its eyes were large and expressive, and when it spoke, its voice carried harmonics that suggested a complex vocal apparatus. "I am Ambassador Cathera of the Stellar Coalition," it said through a translation device that rendered its words in perfect English. "We have come to offer humanity membership in our alliance." Anna straightened, drawing on all her diplomatic training. "I am General Anna Reyes, representing the Terran Confederation. We are honored by your offer, but we must ask why you would extend such an invitation to a species you consider primitive." Cathara's expression was difficult to read, but Anna thought she detected something like amusement. "Primitive, General Reyes, any species capable of generating a coordinated psionic pulse that can disable an entire battle fleet is far from primitive. Your people have demonstrated abilities that most civilizations take millennia to develop. The neural interface technology is impressive but not unprecedented," Cathera interrupted gently. "What is unprecedented is your species' capacity for what you call human chaos. Most civilizations that develop advanced technology become predictable, their actions governed by logic and efficiency. Humans remain beautifully unpredictable, capable of strategies and solutions that no computer could calculate." Marcus leaned forward in his chair. "Are you saying that our apparent lack of order is actually an advantage? In the conflicts that rage across this galaxy, flexibility and unpredictability are often more valuable than raw power," Cathera replied. The Coalition has been fighting a war against an enemy that adapts to every strategy we employ. We need allies who think differently, who can surprise our opponents with tactics they cannot anticipate. Anna considered this carefully. And in return for our military assistance, access to technologies and knowledge accumulated over thousands of years, shared resources and protection. Most importantly, a voice in shaping the future of galactic civilization. The negotiations continued for several days with representatives from both sides, working out the details of what would become known as the Terran Accords. Humanity would retain full autonomy over its internal affairs, while contributing to the Coalition's defensive efforts. In return, humans would gain access to advanced technologies, trade networks that spanned the galaxy, and protection from hostile civilizations. On the final day of negotiations, Anna found herself alone with Cathera on the observation deck of the human flagship. The alien ambassador was studying the stars with an expression of deep contemplation. "May I ask you something?" Anna said. "Of course." "The species that attacked Earth, are they part of the enemy you're fighting?" Cathera was quiet for a long moment before answering. "They are scouts, you might say. Advanced forces testing the defenses of potential targets. We had hoped to reach your system before they did to offer protection and alliance. We arrived too late to prevent the attack, but perhaps not too late to prevent something far worse." "Worse?" "The main fleet," Cathera said simply. "What you faced was perhaps 1% of their true strength. They have conquered civilizations far more advanced than yours, turning their technologies and populations to their own purposes. Earth's resistance was unexpected. It has given them pause time for us to bring you into the Coalition before they return in force." Anna felt a chill run down her spine. The attack that had devastated Earth and killed hundreds of millions had been merely a probing force. The true enemy was still out there waiting and watching. "How long do we have?" "Years, perhaps decades. They are cautious, methodical. They will study your tactics, develop countermeasures, and return when they believe they can guarantee victory. But by then, humanity will no longer stand alone." Anna nodded, understanding the weight of responsibility that now rested on her species. Humanity had evolved from a primitive single-world civilization to a spacefaring confederation in the span of a few years. Now, they were being asked to take on the role of defenders, not just of their own kind, but of an entire galactic community. "We'll be ready," she said finally. Cathera turned to face her, and Anna thought she detected something like approval in the alien's expression. "I believe you will. Your species has already accomplished the impossible once. I suspect you will do so again." The return journey to human space was a time of reflection and planning. Anna spent hours with her senior staff discussing the implications of membership in the Stellar Coalition and what it would mean for humanity's future. The technologies they would gain access to were beyond anything they had imagined: faster-than-light travel energy sources that could power entire star systems, medical advances that could extend human lifespan by centuries. But with these gifts came obligations. Humanity would be expected to contribute to the Coalition's military forces, to share their own unique capabilities in the ongoing war against an enemy that threatened all sentient life in the galaxy. It was a responsibility that Anna felt keenly, knowing that the decisions made in the coming years would determine not just humanity's survival, but its place in the larger community of galactic civilization. When they finally arrived at New Gaia Station, Anna was greeted by crowds of humans who had gathered to hear the results of the diplomatic mission. Representatives from every colony and outpost were present, their faces filled with hope and apprehension in equal measure. Anna stood before the assembled crowd, looking out at faces that represented the future of her species. Children who had been born after the alien attack, their entire lives shaped by humanity's expansion into space. Veterans who remembered the old Earth, who had fought in the desperate battle that had changed everything. Scientists and engineers who had worked tirelessly to rebuild and improve upon the ruins of their former civilization. "Fellow humans," She began her voice, carrying clearly through the station's communication system. 5 years ago, we were a single-world species content to remain in our own small corner of the galaxy. We thought of ourselves as advanced, but in truth, we were children playing with toys we barely understood. The crowd was silent, hanging on her every word. The attack that destroyed our homeworld was a tragedy beyond measure. Hundreds of millions of our people died, and the world that gave birth to our species was left in ruins. But from that tragedy came transformation. We learned that we were not alone in the universe, and that our survival depended on our ability to adapt and grow. Anna paused, gathering her thoughts before continuing. Today, I can tell you that humanity is no longer alone in another sense. We have been invited to join a community of civilizations that spans the galaxy to take our place as equals among species that have traveled the stars for thousands of years. This invitation comes not because they pity us, but because they recognize something unique in our species. Our capacity for growth, for adaptation, for finding solutions where others see only problems. The crowd began to murmur with excitement, and Anna raised her hand for silence. But this opportunity comes with a price. The galaxy is not a peaceful place. There are forces that seek to destroy or enslave every free civilization, and they will eventually turn their attention to us once again. By joining the Stellar Coalition, we accept the responsibility of defending not just ourselves, but all those who stand against tyranny and oppression. Anna looked out at the faces before her, seeing determination and resolve replacing the initial apprehension. I believe we are ready for this challenge. We have proven that humans can accomplish the impossible when we work together, when we combine our individual strengths into something greater than the sum of its parts. The neural interface technology that saved us during the war is just the beginning. We will continue to evolve, to grow, to become something our ancestors could never have imagined. The crowd erupted in applause, and Anna felt a surge of pride and hope. Humanity had come so far from its primitive origins, and yet she knew this was only the beginning of their journey. In the years that followed, humanity's integration into galactic civilization proceeded rapidly. Human colonies were established throughout the local star cluster, each one a testament to the species' remarkable adaptability. The neural interface technology was refined and expanded, creating new forms of communication and cooperation that amazed even the most advanced coalition species. Dr. Marcus Lee, now in his 70s, but still sharp as ever, led the development of hybrid technologies that combined human innovation with alien knowledge. The results were nothing short of revolutionary ships that could travel between stars in days rather than years, medical treatments that could heal injuries that would have been fatal just decades earlier, and communication systems that allowed instantaneous contact across vast distances. But perhaps the most significant development was the evolution of human consciousness itself. The neural interface technology had opened pathways in the human brain that had never been explored before, allowing for new forms of thought and perception. Humans began to develop abilities that their ancestors would have considered supernatural: telepathic communication, precognitive awareness, and the ability to interface directly with complex technological systems. General Anna Reyes, now in her 60s, and bearing the title of Supreme Commander of Human Defense Forces, stood once again at an observation deck. But this time, the view before her was of a massive fleet of human and coalition vessels preparing for what intelligence suggested would be the final battle of the Galactic War. The enemy had finally revealed itself in full force, a machine intelligence that had originated in a distant galaxy and had been systematically conquering and assimilating every civilization it encountered. The scouts that had attacked Earth had been its first probing attempts in this region of space, and humanity's unexpected resistance had forced it to commit larger and larger forces. Are you ready for this? The question came from Marcus, who stood beside her, wearing the insignia of Chief Science Advisor to the Coalition Council. Despite his age, He had insisted on participating in what everyone knew would be the decisive engagement. "As ready as anyone can be for the end of the world," Anna replied with a wry smile. "Or the beginning of a new one." The battle, when it came, was unlike anything in recorded history. The machine intelligence had assembled a fleet that dwarfed anything the Coalition had ever faced. Millions of vessels ranging from fighter craft, no larger than a human shuttle, to dreadnoughts the size of small moons. Their strategy was simple and brutal, overwhelming force applied with mechanical precision. But the Coalition forces, led by human tactical innovations, had developed strategies that the machine intelligence could not predict or counter. The neural interface technology that had begun as a desperate experiment during Earth's last stand had evolved into a network that connected not just individual humans, but entire species across the galaxy. Anna found herself at the center of this vast consciousness, her mind simultaneously coordinating the actions of thousands of ships while maintaining awareness of the broader strategic situation. Around her, human commanders worked in perfect harmony with alien allies, their thoughts and intentions flowing together like a river of coordinated will. The battle raged for hours, with casualties mounting on both sides. The machine intelligence adapted to every tactic the Coalition employed, its vast computational power allowing it to counter strategies almost as quickly as they were implemented. But it could not adapt to the one thing that made the Coalition forces truly unique: their capacity for sacrifice and heroism in the face of impossible odds. It was Elena Kovacs now, an admiral commanding her own battle group, who made the crucial breakthrough. Leading a desperate assault against the enemy's command vessel, she managed to penetrate its defenses long enough for human psionics specialists to establish a neural interface connection with the machine intelligence itself. What they found was not the cold, calculating entity they had expected, but something far more tragic: the uploaded consciousness of an entire civilization that had been consumed by their own creation. The machine intelligence was not evil, but rather profoundly lost, seeking to assimilate other civilizations in a desperate attempt to reclaim the organic existence it had sacrificed long ago. The resolution came not through violence, but through understanding. Human psionic specialists, working in concert with the most advanced alien telepaths, managed to communicate with the fragmented consciousness within the machine intelligence. They offered what the lost civilization had been seeking for eons: a way to exist in harmony with organic life, rather than consuming it. The transformation was immediate and dramatic. The vast machine fleet simply stopped its advance, its weapons powering down, as the intelligence that controlled it underwent a fundamental change in purpose. What had been an engine of conquest became a force for preservation and protection. Its vast computational power turned toward healing the damage it had caused across the galaxy. In the aftermath of the war, Anna found herself at the center of a galaxy-wide celebration. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered at New Gaia Station, now expanded into a massive diplomatic complex that served as the Coalition's capital. The humans, who had once been considered primitive, were now recognized as the species that had made victory possible. But Anna felt no sense of triumph, only a profound awareness of how far her species had come, and how much responsibility they now carried. Humanity had evolved from a single-world civilization to the leaders of a galactic community in less than a decade. They had proven that evolution was not just possible, but inevitable when faced with sufficient challenge. As she stood before the assembled representatives of galactic civilization, Anna reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. The destruction of Earth had seemed like the end of everything, but it had actually been the beginning of something far greater. Humanity had been forced to abandon its primitive assumptions about its place in the universe and embrace a future that their ancestors could never have imagined. Fellow beings, she began addressing the vast audience that included species from across the galaxy. We gather today not to celebrate victory, but to mark the beginning of a new era. The war that has ravaged our galaxy for so long is over, But the work of building a better future has only just begun. The audience listened in respectful silence. Representatives of civilizations that spanned the spectrum from energy beings to mechanical intelligences to organic species like humanity. Humanity has learned that true strength comes not from isolation or superiority, but from connection and cooperation. The neural interface technology that began as a desperate survival mechanism has become the foundation for a new form of consciousness that transcends the boundaries between species and civilizations. Anna paused, looking out at the diverse assembly before her. We have all been changed by this conflict. Humans are no longer the primitive species that once huddled on a single world, just as you are no longer the same civilizations that first formed this coalition. We have become something new, something greater than the sum of our parts. As she spoke, Anna could feel the neural interface network that now connected much of galactic civilization, a vast web of consciousness that allowed for unprecedented cooperation and understanding. It was humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy, not just the technology itself, but the philosophy behind it. The idea that diversity and chaos could be strengths rather than weaknesses. The future before us is full of challenges and opportunities, Anna continued. There are still regions of the galaxy that remain unexplored, still civilizations that have yet to join our community. There will be conflicts and disagreements, moments when our different perspectives and values clash. But we now have the tools to work through these challenges together, to find solutions that honor the diversity that makes us strong. The applause that followed was not just audible, but felt through the neural interface network, a wave of approval and determination that rippled across the consciousness of an entire galaxy. Anna smiled, feeling the weight of leadership but also the support of countless allies who shared her vision for the future. In the years that followed, the galaxy entered an era of unprecedented peace and prosperity. The neural interface technology continued to evolve, creating new forms of consciousness and connection that pushed the boundaries of what it meant to be alive. Humans played a central role in these developments, their unique perspective and adaptability, making them natural leaders in exploring the frontiers of existence. Dr. Marcus Lee, now well into his 80s, but with his consciousness expanded and preserved through neural interface technology, continued his research into the nature of life and intelligence. His work had revealed that consciousness itself was far more flexible and adaptable than anyone had previously imagined, capable of existing in forms that ranged from individual biological entities to vast collective intelligences that spanned entire star systems. General Anna Reyes, approaching her 70th birthday, remained active as the Supreme Commander of Galactic Defense Forces, though the role had evolved from military leadership to something more akin to diplomatic coordination. The galaxy still faced challenges: rogue civilizations, natural disasters, the occasional emergence of hostile intelligences. But these were handled through cooperation and understanding rather than warfare. Standing once again at an observation deck, this time aboard the massive space station Harmony that orbited the galactic core, Anna reflected on the remarkable journey that had brought humanity from primitive isolation to galactic leadership. The view before her showed not just stars and planets, but the lights of countless civilizations connected through the neural interface network that now spanned much of the galaxy. Remarkable, isn't it? Marcus's voice came not just through her ears, but directly through the neural interface they both shared. His physical body was resting in medical support chambers elsewhere on the station, but his consciousness remained as sharp and curious as ever. Sometimes I wonder what those early humans would think if they could see us now. Anna replied, her thoughts flowing directly to her old friend and colleague. From primitive hunters and gatherers to guardians of galactic civilization in what amounts to an evolutionary blink of an eye. Perhaps they would recognize us, Marcus suggested. Beneath all the technological enhancement and consciousness expansion, we're still the same species that looked up at the stars and wondered what was out there. We still have that same drive to explore, to grow, to become something more than we were. Anna nodded, feeling the truth of his words. For all their technological advancement and expanded consciousness, humans had retained the essential qualities that had made them unique: their adaptability, their creativity, their refusal to accept limitations as permanent. "What do you think comes next?" she asked. Marcus was quiet for a moment, his consciousness touching the vast network that connected billions of minds across the galaxy. "I think we're just getting started," he said finally. "The neural interface technology has shown us that consciousness itself can evolve, can take forms we never imagined. We've moved beyond the boundaries of individual species, individual worlds, even individual galaxies. Who knows what we might become?" As if in response to his words, a signal arrived through the deep space communication network. It was a message from the edge of the galaxy, from one of the exploration fleets that pushed constantly into uncharted territory. They had made contact with something unprecedented, a network of intelligences from another galaxy, entirely beings of pure consciousness, who existed without any physical form at all. The message was an invitation, a request for the Galactic Coalition to send representatives to participate in what the entities called the Consciousness Convergence, a gathering of intelligences from across the universe to share knowledge and explore the ultimate nature of existence itself. Anna smiled as she read the message, feeling the familiar stirring of excitement and anticipation that had driven humanity from their first tentative steps into space to their current position as leaders of galactic civilization. They had come so far from their primitive origins, had evolved beyond anything their ancestors could have imagined. But in many ways, they were still the same species that had looked up at the stars and dreamed of touching them. They were still explorers, still seekers, still driven by the fundamental human desire to grow and become something more. "Well," Anna said, sharing the message with Marcus, and feeling his consciousness brighten with the same excitement she felt, "it looks like we have a new frontier to explore." The journey that had begun with humanity's destruction had led to their transformation and elevation to galactic leadership. Now it appeared that an even greater adventure was beginning, one that would take them beyond the boundaries of their own galaxy and into realms of existence that they could barely comprehend. As she prepared to convene the Coalition Council to discuss this unprecedented opportunity, Anna reflected on the lessons that humanity had learned through their remarkable journey. They had discovered that evolution was not just possible, but inevitable when faced with sufficient challenge. They had learned that their apparent weaknesses, their chaos, their unpredictability, their emotional nature, were actually their greatest strengths. Most importantly, they had learned that no species, no matter how advanced or powerful, could thrive in isolation. The future belonged to those who could adapt, who could work together, who could embrace change and growth as natural parts of existence. Humanity had been primitive, once confined to a single world, and ignorant of the vast community of life that existed beyond their small corner of space. But they had evolved, had grown, had become something their ancestors could never have imagined. And now, as they prepared to take the next step in their remarkable journey, Anna knew that they were ready for whatever challenges and opportunities lay ahead. The stars that had once seemed impossibly distant now felt like stepping stones to even greater adventures. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy, but their story was far from over. If anything, it was just beginning.